everybody, it's Jim Heath from the Jim Heath Channel, and I must say, history on today's show. It's time for another Electoral College map forecast, and I must say this is the first time in 40 years that I've been following these Electoral College maps. Since the election of 1984 when I was in high school, this is the very first time that we've started a program like this where I cannot tell you if the election were today, who would win. And I'll tell you why. I'll explain it all to you in just a second. But first, we've added 2 more additional states to our battleground status. As you know, all year on these shows, we've been concentrating on 5 key states: Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Arizona. Well, now we've added 2 more that have become too close to call, and those are the states of North Carolina and Nevada. So, starting on today's show, 7 battleground states instead of 5. Not particularly good news for former President Trump, because 2 of those states, Nevada and North Carolina, up until now, we had solidly in his camp, but that is no longer the case. Kamala Harris has certainly energized the Democratic Party, the grassroots, the coalition that helped Barack Obama win in 2008 and 2012 and Joe Biden win in 2020. That coalition seems to be back together, and it is doing wonders for the Democratic ticket. So when we subtract those 7 states from our Electoral College forecast, here's what it looks like. Without those 7 battleground states, Kamala Harris is in the lead with 226 electoral votes. Former President Trump has 219, a very, very close contest. Now, I know you've been waiting for this. The reason why, if the election were today, I would be unable to give you any kind of educated guess on which way the election would go, it's because of the big state of Pennsylvania, the biggest battleground state of all in 2024. Look at this. It is tied. It is deadlocked right now. Both Harris and Trump have 47.9% of the vote apiece. And why is that important? Let's run through the other battleground states. Let's begin in the state of Arizona, where the former president now has a lead less than 1%, 0.8%. You might recall in all of our shows up to this point, the former president was leading in Arizona by like 4, 5, 6 points. That has come down to less than a percentage point now. In the state of Michigan, Kamala Harris now leads with 2.1%, so we've moved Michigan into the blue column. We did that in our last program, and now we're going to add one more additional blue battleground state for this particular program, and it's in Wisconsin, where we now show Harris leading by 1 point. Trump had a slim lead most of the year in Wisconsin, but that has been erased, and Harris now leads by 1 point. In the state of Georgia, the former president still leads by 0.6%. This is even closer than Arizona. Remember, Arizona and Georgia we had for Donald Trump all year long. We figured that there wasn't even a battle there, really. Now we put those back into battleground status because they're both less than 1%, and Georgia's even tighter than the state of Arizona. And if we look at the state of Nevada, former President Trump now has a 3.5% lead. That is still fairly comfortable, but that has come way down. So that's why we put it in battleground status along with North Carolina. And take a look at this. In the Tar Heel state, the president now only leads by 2.4%. He was up to like a 5.5% lead in some of our past programs, but now that has shrunk to just, as we see here, 2.4%. So, as we said, without the battleground states, Kamala Harris has 226 electoral votes. Former President Trump has 219. If we award the states that we just discussed, the battlegrounds, Donald Trump has 268 electoral votes. The vice president has 251. This is minus Pennsylvania, which, as I said, is deadlocked right now at 47.9% apiece. So we can't award Pennsylvania to either candidate, and neither of them right now has over 270 electoral votes. It is impossible for me in this particular show to say if the election were today, who would win, because I just can't do it. I can't call Pennsylvania. Now, I know for former President Trump supporters, this is getting a little intense. Some Trump supporters are not believing these polls. This is the same formula that I'm showing you in this show right now that I've used the entire year, which has showed Trump ahead of Biden. So nothing has changed in my formula whatsoever. It's just that the numbers are shifting on the ground because Kamala Harris represents something different than Joe Biden, and Democrats like it. And they're coming home to the Democratic ticket where they were not there in all of our previous shows. That's just the reality of what's happened. Now, I can tell you with 70 some days to go, a lot can happen. We still have the debates, we still have a lot of advertisements, we still have a lot of rallies. A lot of dynamics go into these final couple months of the campaign. So these numbers could shift again in one direction or the other. But the momentum right now is for the vice president. And that's just the reality of the numbers and the situation. I've been looking at these electoral college maps, well, since I was in high school, as I said earlier. I've been doing it a long time. This is not a Republican Democrat thing for me. This is just simply trying to get it right. And my formula, which is not just poll driven, but it's also how much money the campaigns are spending on the ground, how much staff work they have, how much coordinated workforce they have in these battleground states. You got to look at all of these things to come up with a formula and make a determination of what's really going on. And based on what I'm seeing, we have a too close to call presidential election right now, with Pennsylvania being the deciding state, at least if the election were today. And look what happens. If former President Trump wins in Pennsylvania, he'll be president again with 287 electoral votes to the vice president's 251. But if Kamala Harris wins Pennsylvania in this scenario, she ends the night with 270 electoral votes to Trump's 268. And by 2 electoral votes, the vice president will be the president-elect of the United States. You just simply can't get any closer than that. A lot of dynamics still to come, as I mentioned. A lot of potential things can happen. This can still shift dramatically one way or the other. The American people are just getting to know the vice president right now. She's in a bit of a honeymoon period with voters. Those independent voters in the battleground states could find something they don't like about her and shift back the other way. But if I'm a Trump supporter right now, I'm a little nervous, because you got to get your candidate on message. There's a lot to attack from the last 4 years on the economy and inflation and prices at the grocery store, all kinds of things that you can be talking about, but the former president seemingly wants to be more in attack mode, and that is not playing well, particularly with suburban women in these battleground states and independent voters. And if you're a Democrat, look, you're on the verge of history. We've never had a woman president, certainly never had a black woman president. Kamala Harris has represented all the things the Democrats have been kind of leading up to this point, and right now she's got all the momentum on her side. We will continue to monitor this. Obviously, we'll have another show as soon as Pennsylvania breaks one direction or another, but for right now, this presidential election as we see it is simply too close to call, and that is a first in 40 years of covering these electoral college maps. I'm Jim Heath. Please be sure to like the video, even if you disagree with it a little bit. I mean, it is what it is. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, helps us out a lot, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
He's been watching the Electoral College map since high school and college. No one understands the race to 270 electoral votes better than Jim Heath. You can count on his fair and balanced analysis throughout election 2024. Be sure to subscribe and ring the bell. Thanks for watching the Jim Heath channel.